basically everything that sustains the wealth of this nation and the wealth of your listeners right now. If we're going to put them out of business, what are we leaving ourselves? A nation that takes in each other's washing.
Well, Ray Evans, a former lecturer in engineering at Deakin University, who's written a paper here before joining the Western Mining Group, he's the secretary of the Lavoisier Group, calls it salvation politics. There's always someone out there attempting to create a heaven on earth, but he says the more draconian the attempt at moral transformation, the more terrible the consequences.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's fear and loathing to the masses, the inspiration of, the imminent destruction of all that we know. And then what is their cure, Alan? Their cure is a new tax. It's bizarre that, apparently a tax from Australia unilaterally put forward is going to somehow cure everything. First of all, I'm a skeptic, but let's put that to one side. No one has shown me how this...
I'm not a skeptic, I'm an opponent.
Yeah, well, no one has shown me how a new tax is going to do anything to fix the problem.
Well, nothing's been explained. There's been no debate. I mean, we've got two issues now, haven't we? The consequences of this legislation in Australia if it passes, and the consequences of a treaty in Copenhagen if it's signed.
Well, if we get a treaty, we're just handing over our sovereignty to the United Nations in another sort of box and dice. I don't think the Australian people out there driving on the roads at the moment understand that we're about to hand over part of our sovereignty to a group, the United Nations. Is that what you want? Do you want
world government, they're calling it.
Yeah, do you want Namibia and Zambia to have a vote in sort of the direction of our nation?
But surely, Barnaby, the exaggeration condemns their case from the outset. We're told, for a start, Penny Wong has said climate change is the greatest social, economic and environmental challenge of our time, and it's affecting, here we go, rainfall patterns, water availability, sea levels, storm activity, droughts and bushfire frequency, and it puts at risk Australia's coastal communities, health outcomes, agricultural tourism, heritage and biodiversity. The only thing it didn't say was it was the reason Bude didn't win the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, I know, and that's the reason my muffins didn't rise. Yeah, well,
that's right.
It's once more, let's look at some of the emotive statements they put out. Let's start with getting rid of the Great Barrier Reef. Well, that's interesting, but Dr. Peter Ridd, who's a professor in oceanography from James Cook University, says that's a load of rubbish. Now, I don't know. Who do I believe? Do I believe Penny Wong, or do I believe...
Quite. Well, Professor Lindsay, I spoke to him here the other day. Look, we've got as a part of this legislation that you're going to have to debate in the Senate, an outfit will come into place if, and I'm just saying this for my listeners, if this legislation's passed, there will be an outfit come into being called the Australian Climate Change Regulatory Authority. It's called the Authority. And it will administer the emissions trading scheme, the reporting regime, and the renewable energy targets. But the powers here are unbelievable, aren't they? Clause 301, the right to silence is abolished. The right not to incriminate yourself is not allowed. The onus of proof is reversed. Yeah. People have no idea. Where is Malcolm Turnbull taking this case to the public?
Well, I hope that in the next vote we voted the way we did last time, Alan, and we vote against this. I've not found a friend for the ETS. I've not found a supporter for it. I've gone looking, Alan. I've looked right across the length of our nation. I've been down to Narra. But then they say, Barnaby, it's just your regional bucolic kitsch. You don't understand it. Of course, the urbane people, they want the ETS. So I'm here talking to you, and I've been speaking to Justin also on 2GB. None of you, I can't find any on Talkback either.
What was worrying me about the detail, you're quite right. Now, the authority, the Australian Climate Change Authority, has the right to pass on, under this legislation that Kevin Rudd wants passed, to pass on private information to practically anyone, including the United Nations and foreign governments. Someone spent thousands of hours putting this together without any consultation with the electorate.
Yeah, and this is going to be an army of, on the conservative side of politics, which I belong to, Alan, I believe in small government, not big government. This is big government. I believe in small taxes, not big taxes. This is a whole new taxing regime where they don't have to prove, Alan, you made a profit. They just have to prove you exist and they tax you. When you wake up in the morning, Alan, your alarm clock will go off, and that's a sign that Kevin Rudd is taxing you. He's in your alarm clock. But no, he's been there all night because he was in your fridge. Anything that's connected to the wall, connected to a PowerPoint, is now a form of a taxing regime for the government. He's in your shopping trolley. If you want to get away from it, Alan, and you fly up to Cairns for the weekend, well, remember it's on aviation fuel, so he's on the plane with you. But if you go to Fiji, he's not. See, this is a great way of getting all the industry from our nation into another nation, of basically sending us broke. So what on earth are we doing this funny little dance with this load of rubbish?
So replace coal-based electricity and provide green jobs. Now, that's the next thing. Now, Spain had a shot at that. They now have unemployment rates of 17%, and they found that for every green job they created, they lost 2.2 real jobs.
That's right, and then look at California. There was another group that went down this marvellous idea of a green economy, and they're having troubles paying for their doctors at the moment.
But all these generators now, say Victoria, which is providing 85% of Victoria's electricity, they've got loans to roll over. The banks are not prepared to renew those loans if it's got this uncertainty. I mean, these are serious issues. There are electricity generating companies out there saying, we are on the brink of bankruptcy if this nonsense proceeds.
Yeah, and it's everything, Alan. Remember, on this idea, apparently a bovine ruminant, your beef, produces about 70 kilograms of methane, Alan, and now apparently under the Kyoto Protocol, we've got to multiply that by 21. That's 1,470 kilograms of carbon equivalent per beast per year. Call it a tonne and a half, Alan. Now, the National Australia Bank says the price of carbon will be between $10 and $100. Let's meet them halfway and call it $50. That's $75 per beast per year. We don't have a beef industry if that goes forward, Alan. And the Labor Party refuses to acknowledge the rule out of agriculture. They should rule the whole lot out, but this is the sort of implications that we have. And you say, oh, well, that's madness. We won't put our beef industry out of a job. But I listened to the former Vice President of the United States, the messianic figure in all of this, Al Gore, and he says, oh, we've got to move towards being vegetarians. You know, this is just, it's just absurd. When are we going to stop this absurdity?
Well, okay. We're going to go to the news. You've been brilliant. But where is this taking us? Where are we going with the legislation? What's the Parliament going to do?
Well, we've got to keep the numbers tight. If everybody votes the way they did last time, we can stop this. We can stop it in the Senate. People have to realise we can stop.
And you wouldn't be frightened of an election on this issue?
Mate, bring it on. Let's have it.
Barnaby Joyce. Outstanding. Outstanding. Sitting in front of me without a note in front of him.